Hey everyone, welcome back to Sound Living with Maddie. Today you have just me, Maddie. I'm going to be doing some Q&A with our producer, Christian, so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better, follow up on some frequently asked questions, and there's no expert in the room today. It's just me kind of talking about my history and where I'm at today, and this is just kind of where I'm at in my life.
This is a Soaak podcast.
Hey, I'm Madi, and this is Sound Living, a space for real conversations about intentional living, wellness, and personal growth. Here, we dive into practical tools, mindset shifts, and the little changes that make a big impact. Whether you're looking to create balance, build better habits, or just feel more in tune with yourself, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
So Maddie, what is your background and how did you get into all of this?
Okay, yeah, this is a good one. So my background, I guess, educationally, if we take it back to like high school, I was never a straight A student by any measure of the imagination. I was always kind of looking for some kind of loophole or something to do differently. My parents just always said that I beat to the tune of my own drum, and that has been evident throughout my entire life. So I graduated high school. I had figured out a way to get into a cosmetology program. I was not passionate about being a hairdresser. I was passionate about finding a way to get out of school for half a day. And so I did that, and it was fun. I found that I was really good at it, and being a creative, it was like an art form to me. So I did that. My parents, they said, "Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to go to college? Are you sure you want to do this path?" And I said, "Yeah, this is just kind of what I'm moving towards." And so I went to California, I went to Santa Monica, and I trained at the Vidal Sassoon Academy in Santa Monica, California when I was 18 years old. And that was the first time that I was kind of living on my own. My sister came out with me for a little bit, and then we both ended up going back to Tulsa, and I worked at a couple of different hair salons. I found myself with like that continuous itch of like, okay, this really isn't fulfilling me. Like, yeah, I'm being challenged and I'm growing and I'm building and I'm getting to be creative, but something felt like it was missing. And I remember I felt like God just hit me with it one day when I was at work. And I remember taking my lunch break and driving myself to the closest community college. And I remember tracking down the one person that I knew worked there. And she had never met me before. I knew her son was friends with my brother. And I walked through the whole building until I found her. I found her office and I said, "Hi, I'm Madison Penix at the time. You might know my brother, Zach Penix. Your son was at a fraternity with him." And thank God she was the sweetest lady ever, completely took me under her wing and helped me get enrolled in school. And that was kind of I feel like that moment was the start of a new life for me. So, I did the thing that I swore I would never do, which was to go back to school. And I ended up, completely transforming as a student. I started acing all of my classes. I think, spending a couple of years really working and seeing how hard life can be and realizing, hey, I'm wanting something a little bit different. I was ready to really, grind and spend several years kind of figuring out where I want to be and how can I work towards it. So I ended up in a position where I was, like I had mentioned, I moved out when I was 18 years old. I was supporting myself completely. I was paying for community college. I was working at a hair salon, and I also got a job working for Starbucks because I didn't have enough money to pay rent, pay tuition, all of the things. And so I would get up at 4 a.m, open at Starbucks. I would try not to fall asleep. It happened a couple times. And I would go and work at the hair salon, and then I would go to class in the afternoons. And so my days were really intense, and I was working harder than I've ever worked in my entire life, doing all these different jobs. But I had a really clear vision of where I wanted to be. So the time came where I needed to decide, okay, I'm finishing up on community college. I need to pick a university. And I knew, the tuition was going to be a lot more expensive. Thank goodness I ended up acing all my classes. I had a 4.0, so I was able to get some scholarships. At that point, I went and had a conversation with my parents, and I, had kind of showed them everything that I had been doing, and I asked for some help. And so at that point, they stepped in and helped me with some tuition and some living expenses. And I transferred to University of Oklahoma. 3 days later, I met Aaron, my husband, and we were introduced by my roommate at the time, who I moved in with, not knowing anyone. Everyone that I knew that had gone to OU had graduated already, because I'm doing this like 4 years later than my peers. And so I'm feeling kind of old, and which is hilarious looking back at it now. I think I was like 22 at the time. And I didn't really know anyone. There might have been a few stragglers doing like a victory lap, but I moved in with these just random girls that I picked out of a stack of papers and said, okay, I'll be their fourth roommate. And so I moved in, and my roommate Emily said, hey, my boyfriend has a roommate who needs a date to this fraternity date party. It's like, this is so not my style. Like, I don't know, like you're telling me he's this really nice guy. It sounds like he can't get a date. Like, I'm not sure about this. And she assured me that I would just love him. And she was right, because now we're married. And I'll never forget meeting Aaron. I felt like I had known him my entire life. It was a really neat feeling. We were introduced to each other at that party, and we just sat in the corner and talked, and the whole party went by. It was just like a movie. And then there we were, just still talking at like 3 a.m. So that's how I ended up at OU. That's how I met my husband. And then that's also how I ended up studying public relations. So when I was at community college, I wasn't really sure what subject to study. Whenever you go to cosmetology school, you have to study a lot of like biology and science and, different chemical reactions and things like that. So I picked biology. And, I did my best to get through the classes. I did a great job of acing them at the community college, but whenever I switched to university, it was a different story. The classes were much harder. There was a lot of competition. You have all these pre-med students who are competing in the weed out classes, and it just kind of hit me like, this is not my thing. These are not my people. I think I'm in the right spot, but maybe studying the wrong thing. So I switched to the journalism college and switched to public relations. And so that's kind of how I got my feet wet in the marketing world. And so, a couple of years at OU, I graduated. This was really fun for me. So when I graduated from OU, I graduated as the outstanding senior for public relations. And I didn't tell my family, because I thought, oh, this will be a great surprise. I was never one to get like the academic awards or anything like that. And so whenever my family showed up, they were waiting, and they were in the audience, and they didn't see me with my class. And they were like, oh no, Maddie like forgot, or she overslept, or, what's going on? And then they see me follow the teachers and walk on stage, and they're like, oh my God, she got in the wrong line. And Aaron was sitting with them, and he had to like settle them down and be like, no, like that's where she's supposed to be. Not that they didn't believe in me. I hadn't warned them. And it was a fun surprise for them. So they got to see me do that. And that was a really special moment for me as well. So it was really fun. And, I did a couple of really great internships. I got to go to Washington, D.C. for a while. I worked for some PR firms out there, and then Aaron and I got married, and he was going through law school. I ended up opening a salon actually on campus at OU, because Aaron was going to OU Law. It was a really interesting turn of events that led to that decision. They were putting in some dorms for upperclassmen, and they contacted me and said, hey, like we really want to put in a blow dry bar, a salon. We know you from your time here at OU. I had worked for this particular office as a student, and they said, we'll give you really favorable terms if you'll put in a salon. And so me being the entrepreneur that I am, I said, sure, I'll do it. And that was a really interesting chapter in my life. I learned more. I think I'm just kind of equating it to like getting an MBA, because I'd always worked for myself, and I had always been able to manage, my own income, my own money, or I had been an employee at a salon. But most of the time I was working for myself. And now I had employees, 20 of them, and they're all like 18 years old, and they're looking at me and I'm looking at them like, okay, I'm really going to try to make this work for you all. And, that salon ended up staying open, I think like 3 or 4 years, which beat out the average time that a salon stays open. Unfortunately, the university shut down the project and they sold the building. So I think that the salon got turned into like a mailroom or something like that. But it was a really interesting time. While I was doing that, I wasn't making much money from it. I was trying to invest everything back into the business, trying to make sure all of my employees got paid. And so I was taking on marketing clients because that's what I knew how to do. And OU had asked me to teach their social media marketing course. So I was an adjunct professor, which doesn't pay much, but it's really fun. I was, kind of owning and operating this business with, a bunch of 18-year-old employees. And I was doing marketing gigs on the side. So one of those marketing clients was the clinic that Soaak started from. So this was, in Tulsa, about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Norman, where I was living. So I was going back and forth, kind of checking in with my client in Tulsa, which was, of course, the clinic that Soaak started out of. And, just kind of trying to juggle it all, trying to get an income from that. Aaron was in law school, so he was working another job at the South Central Climate Science Center. He's always been like the science guy. And, we were just kind of trying to make ends meet. And then we looked at each other one day. The salon was kind of on its way out, and he had graduated from law school. He had started up a different venture with my dad, and we were like, let's go to California. And so we went, and we had decided 14 days before we ended up moving there that that's what we wanted to do. This is the beauty of married life before you have kids, I guess. And we just decided to do it. And God flung open every single door. We got an amazing rate on a beautiful townhouse in Point Loma. Everything was just working in our favor. And so we went out there, and that's whenever we decided to digitize what we were doing in clinic. And we launched Soaak out of San Diego. And that's where our first partners were that we worked with that really helped us get the business up off the ground. Fast forward, I think we stayed in San Diego a little over a year, and then we ended up coming back to Tulsa because we wanted the whole team together, all 4 founders. Aaron and I ended up, we had been trying to have a baby kind of on and off, not a lot of pressure, but the second we've moved back to Tulsa, literally that month I got pregnant, and I was so surprised because I just, I really did want to have a baby, but I wasn't, obsessing over it or anything like that. I was really enjoying life with Aaron, and we were traveling a lot. And, especially when we were living in California, we were just having a great time. And whenever we got back to Tulsa, I'll never forget, we were at a dinner party at my dad's house, and I noticed my sister, she was fake drinking her wine. She would put it up to her mouth, and she wouldn't drink any. And so I cornered her like a little sister would. And I said, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" And she said, "No." "Well, yes." And I said, "Don't worry, I'll cover for you." So I'm, switching her glasses all night. I'm, drinking her wine. And then Aaron ended up staying at my dad's house because they wanted to watch a movie. I was like, I really want to go home. So I think I went home with my sister, and she dropped me off. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a pregnancy test because why not? I've had a little bit of wine, like my sister's pregnant. I don't know. And so I ended up taking the pregnancy test, and I totally forgot about it. Like I just had gone off into the kitchen. I was on my phone, and I went back to the bathroom to go throw it away, and a line caught my eye, and I was like, whoa, that's a second line. And I feel like I was so ignorant at the time where I was like, well, that, it's really light. So that probably doesn't actually mean that it's positive. And, whenever you just haven't done all the research like I have today into, getting pregnant and everything, I had no idea. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to Aaron. I was like, does that look positive to you? And we were Googling, like, what does it mean when you see 2 lines, even if the line is faint? And it's so funny to look back on it now with everything that we know. But yes, I was pregnant and I couldn't wait to tell my sister because she already had one kid and we were going to be pregnant together at the same time. So our daughters ended up being born like 9 days apart from each other, and they're like best friends. So it was really great for me because I had someone who had been through it before, who was also like exactly, the amount of pregnant that I was. And every time something came up, I was always asking her questions. And she was such a great friend to me and sister to me during that time. So it was really fun. We, continue to build Soaak and work on Soaak through having a baby. And fast forward to today, here we are. Gosh, I don't even know how many years later. Annie just turned 3. And we were in San Diego in 2020. So here we are 5 years later, and, we've seen a lot of really great growth and success. My role has changed a lot of different ways. I've always been the marketing person in our company, that type of co-founder. And I've been able to really step back and build a team underneath me. That's been the biggest shift in my role and responsibility over the past, it's really just been over the past year or two that I've been able to do that. So it's been phenomenal. We have a fantastic marketing team and I'm really proud of them. So that was a really long answer to the background question, but that's it. That's everything.
So on that note, on that work note, how is work going? You seem like you're doing a million things.
Yeah, it's going really well. I feel like I'm not doing as many tasks as I had always been doing kind of in the, I would say startup phase, but we're still in the startup phase. We're just so blessed to have seen so much success that we're able to build a support team in, so many areas of the company. So it's been a really good time. I feel like, I'm someone who kind of rebels against structure, but also ends up craving it. So I don't know what that says about me. I'm a type 7 on the Enneagram. But it's been one of those things where, for the first time ever, all of the bases are covered. And I actually get to step back and do the role of a CMO instead of doing all of the roles, all of the tasks, as well as, the CMO role. So it's been a really special time, a really great time.
So you're really busy. How is your health journey going amidst all of that?
It's been really good. So a couple of months ago, I started back on a really clean keto diet, and I found a lot of success with it. I've lost 30 pounds, which has been amazing. And I feel great. We have been playing a lot of pickleball. I ended up hurting my back playing pickleball. So that kind of reintroduced chiropractic care. And I found out that I have a pelvic tilt. So one of my hips is higher than the other, and it's also tilted forwards or backwards. I'm not really sure. But it's allowed me to really focus on the root cause of why that is and implement it into my health journey, which has been building my core back up, especially after having a baby. I had the thing where your abs separate whenever you're pregnant. And so I never really worked on building that back up. So over the past, how long has it been? It's only been maybe 2.5 months. I have been really dedicated to this clean keto diet. And that, basically just means I'm eating a lot of protein with fat. And I'm keeping it really boring and really simple because I just didn't want to get overwhelmed with all these extravagant recipes. I want to be able to fuel my body. I want it to taste good, but that's not the most important thing to me this time around. And it's just something that works for my body really well. So I've been able to do it with, nothing else other than just the diet, which has been really great. I feel awesome. I'm sleeping better. My heart rate has lowered from 75 to 55, my resting heart rate. Yeah, my HRV is through the roof. All signs are pointing to this is a really good diet for my body. So I am going to stick with it and hopefully make a ton more progress. But I'm really proud of myself and how far I've come now, especially, considering the fact that we do want to grow our family, getting like the pelvic floor under control, getting yourself into a really healthy state, kind of loading your system with nutrients and everything like that is super important to me. And I told my sister, I was like, I feel like I won the lottery. Like, it's so hard once I don't know what it is. Like, once you get in your 30s as a woman, it's like things just don't work for you how they used to. Like, I used to be able to just count calories or, track things that way. And I tried that first before I did the keto diet, and it did not work. I was eating like nothing, and the weight was not moving. But the second that I cut out carbs for whatever reason, my body just loves that, or hates that. I don't know. And it kind of falls off me. So, really happy to be where I'm at.
It's awesome. So getting healthier, trying to expand the family. How is Annie, your daughter, doing? How's motherhood right now?
She's great. We're in our summer season. So we have pulled her out of daycare, and she's about to start P3 at the school that I went to, that I graduated from. So that's kind of a fun moment. And she starts in a couple of weeks. So we're just taking some time as a family. We have her here at the office today, just to kind of recenter and regroup before we start that season.
That's awesome. And how are things with Dad? How are things with Aaron right now?
Oh, he's doing great. He is such a phenomenal partner. I could talk about him all day, but he works really hard in the business. He works really hard at home. He is a true partner. He helps me cook and clean and do laundry, and he helps me when I'm stuck on a problem at work. And I try to offer the same to him, but sometimes it feels like he can just do it all. He is absolutely phenomenal. And it's been fun also picking up a hobby together. So we are pickleball partners, and we've been doing these co-ed leagues because we just never do date nights. We're together all the time. We're together at work. We're together when we pick up Annie, and we've just never prioritized date night. And so pickleball has kind of become our date night, and that's been really fun.
After being married as long as you have now, what would be a marriage tip you could give to a working couple that may just not be starting out on a business or a business venture?
Yeah. So this is actually a piece of advice for anyone, whether you work together or not. Never lose respect for your partner. And I believe that's a choice. So you can choose to lose respect, to talk bad about, to complain about, to pick apart your partner. And I think that is like the window to disaster. So one thing that I've always really appreciated about our relationship is that we've just never really lost respect for one another. We really hold each other, in a really high regard, and we listen to one another. We believe the best about each other, and we don't get spiteful. So, that I would say is, his leadership, because I probably one that would be more, naturally, I would probably tend to get bitter or resentful about something more naturally than he would, just part of my personality. And he's been such a fantastic leader for our family in that way.
What's something small that's bringing you joy in your life right now?
It's pickleball. Pickleball. So I finally have hobbies. I've never had hobbies before. But this year I've pickled up. Please cut that out. This year I've picked up pickleball and Mahjong. So I have a group of neighborhood moms, and we get together. Like, we try to do it once a week. It doesn't always happen. And we play Mahjong, and it's been so fun. I feel like it's challenged my brain in different ways, because it takes a lot of concentration, and these tile combinations are, I don't know, they're brain busters to me. I'm new. So it's probably really easy for other people, but it's been really fun.
What's something you're terrible at but doing anyway?
Mahjong. No.
Well, the other question was, what's saving your sanity this week? If you say Mahjong.
Okay, something I'm terrible at but doing anyway for real. Budgeting. So Aaron and I have been looking at our finances and trying to optimize our savings and, figure out, we have student loan, or he has some student loans. I have some loans from old businesses, and just kind of reorganizing and being good stewards of our money. And that is not something that I'm naturally good at. So that is something that we're working on as a family. And it's one of those things where it's like, I know we need to do it. And when we have time to do it, it's like, I don't even want to bring it up because I just don't even want to look at it. But when we do, it's almost like going to the gym where you feel better after you work out. We always feel better after we have the conversation. And so that he's naturally pretty good at it, but it's not something that I'm great at. So.
Well, that's awesome. So what is motivating you right now?
So right now I have been listening to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts. I've been listening to audiobooks on like personal finance to kind of try to help grow myself in that area. And then I listened to a podcast today, actually. It's the Aspire podcast with Emma. I can't remember her last name, but she interviewed the founder of Poppy, the like soda company, Yeah. And she just sold to Pepsi for like $1.9 billion. And she is a mom. I think she's in her like late 30s, and she just sold, and now she's spending time with her kids. And I really like hearing from female founders, and then hers in particular. Like, she's a creative just like me. Like, she kind of wears a lot of the marketing hats just like I do. So I feel like I found a lot of like inspiration in her story, and so putting that up on the vision board. But yeah, podcasts and audiobooks are kind of my go-to way of staying inspired and motivated.
Okay, that's awesome. So to maybe wrap this up, what's something you're choosing to believe in this season right now in your life?
Okay, yeah. So this season has been, not to sound too cliche, but it's been like a roller coaster. We've had some really high peaks and some really low moments. And I always just go back to, you'll never miss what's meant for you. That's kind of my life motto. God will open the doors that you're meant to walk through, and he'll shut the ones that you're not meant to walk through. And, and thank God, because we choose to believe that there's always something better. There's a reason that this didn't work out. Life is always happening for us, not to us. And so having that like kind of eternal optimism, and for us, like that's just our reality, is that we just always know that there's something better around the corner, even if it doesn't look like it in the moment. So that's really been kind of the slogan, I guess, of the season, is you'll never miss what's meant for you. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening and letting me just kind of talk about myself. It was really fun. It was kind of cathartic for me in a way. And if there's anything else that you guys have questions about, feel free to drop a comment or send me a DM. I'm always looking to connect with other women and founders and creatives. So have a blessed day.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. If you loved this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. You can find us on Instagram at Soaak Podcast for more inspiration and wellness insights. Thanks for being here. And until next time, keep tuning into what truly matters.